So back when I was a kid, or even Game Boy, I'd go on an airplane or a long drive, and my parents would give me one of these. And basically, it was some magnetic dust and powder, and then you would take this little magnetic pen and you would draw a little hair on them. And that kept us interested for about 10 minutes, and then we were bored and complaining. Man, parenting must have been a lot harder back then. Anyway, we're going to do the same thing on this little stick figure that took hours drawing, by creating our own little brushes in Photoshop to deal with hair. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is switch to a hard round pressure size brush. It might not look like this depending on your magnification, but that's the one, trust me. Something like that. So make a new layer, and we're gonna pull up our brush options. So I'm gonna have my brushes and my brush settings open here. So window, brush settings, and window brushes, and just stick them next to each other. So if they're not next to each other, just because we're gonna want to go back and forth between them. So in our brush settings, the first thing we're gonna do is we can squish our brushes and we can turn our brushes. We're gonna set the angle to 90, and the roundness to 0. So it's gonna be like that. Make sure the flow is at 100, the opacity is at 100. So you should get something like this. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into shape dynamics, and we are actually going to have the size jitter a little bit. So you get something like this. We're going to also set the angle to be the direction of the brush, like that. Now let's space it out a little bit. So back to brush tip shape. We're going to just space it out a little bit more. Let's go a little bit more. Maybe around 100%. I don't know. I don't know why it feels like it's getting closer together this time, but that's fine. And then also let's do a little bit of angle jitter, just a small amount. And that's going to also cause it to kind of go at weird different angles. The size needs to be pen pressure also. If it's not already, make sure that's pen pressure. And again, make sure the angle direction is set to direction. A lot of times students will accidentally just click on the checkbox and then the settings don't pop up. You have to actually click on the words. So let's go to color dynamics, and we're going to click apply per tip, put a little bit of hue jitter, a little bit of brightness jitter. And now you get something that looks a little bit like this for the hair. Man, it's not looking as good as I had it earlier. I don't know what I'm doing differently. Maybe let's turn a little bit of scattering on. Yeah, that looks better. There we go. So now we got, and again, if you push lightly, it's going to go closer together. And if you push hard, it's going to go. So this is our first thing of hair, and that's a nice little mustache and a goatee. Goatee right here. There we go. And thicker mustache. Cool. Looking good, dude. And little eyebrows. So that's our first set of hair. Now let's switch to the, first thing we're going to do next is we're going to save this. We're going to make a new brush preset. And we're going to call this one fur, because that's basically like animal fur. Let's make a new layer. Turn that one off. And this one, we're going to take the brush tip shape, and we're going to flip it. Instead of 90 degrees, we're going to set it to 0 degrees. I'm just going to type that in so I can get exact. And now we get something like this. Now it's a little scraggly, so I'm actually going to turn off the not the size jitter, the angle jitter, because I want it to be straight. And let's turn the scattering up really high. Oh, too much. And I'm trying to see, is both axes gonna be better or worse? I don't know if it makes a difference. Nah, I don't know. That's fine. So I'm gonna set the scatter to about 200. And I'm gonna get hair that kind of comes like this. Maybe I'll turn the scatter down to 100 so I can just have a little bit more control here. And we end up with hair that comes out like that. Pretty cool. And maybe you'd want to get like some darker areas, some highlights. Really bright highlights. Cool. Looking good. And then you could even do some eyebrows. Soft touch. Maybe a smaller brush for that. Soft. So you start like pushing hard and then you kind of let go. There you go. All right, so we got this haircut. We got this haircut. Let's come up with another one. For this one, we're actually going to create our own brush. So now things are going to get a little bit complicated. So stay with me. Oh, first let's save this brush. We're going to call this one straight hair. Still kind of a little fuzzy, not super clean, but that's okay. For this one, we're going to switch to the hard round brush, not pressure size. And we're going to just use our mouse here to make some dots. We're going to start with about a 45 size, and we're just going to click. Then we're going to go down to about a 30 size and click here and here. Then we're going to go down to like a 15 size and click here. And then we're going to go down to really small and maybe click here. So you're going to end up with like 5 of these dots. Put a rectangle selection around them, which is this one. And try to get as close as you can to them. There's not too much white on the outside. And then we're going to go to Edit, Define Brush Preset. And we're going to call this one Hair. I guess we already have a bunch called Hair, but there we go. So now I'm going to delete this layer. I don't need it. And I'm going to make a new layer again. Oh, I thought I deleted that. Where did I? Oh, okay. I accidentally moved it down there. All right, first thing we're going to do with this hair layer is we're going to set the spacing to 1% so that it's close together. And with my drawing tablet, you can see it looks like this. The next thing that we're going to do is go into shape dynamics. And I don't want it to always be the same direction. So I'm going to set the angle jitter to set to the initial direction, whichever direction I start going. That's going to be the direction that our brush goes. And so it's going to look a little different each time. And then this is important. Size jitter needs to be set to pen pressure. So you can get hair that looks like this. Now I'm going to go into color dynamics. And for this one, I'm actually going to go with like a dark brown, almost black hair. For this one, I'm actually going to not do apply per tip. What I'm going to do instead is maybe just a little bit of brightness jitter, no hue jitter, brightness jitter maybe down to 5%. And I'm going to have it be so that every time I brush, there's just slight differences in the hair color. You could probably barely see that. And I'm actually going to go almost all the way there. Okay. So let's go ahead and just quickly throw some curly hair here. Why does it feel like there's still too much spacing there? Spacing's all the way down. What else did I do wrong? Huh. No scattering. I want to uncheck that. Can I just take spacing off? No. I don't know why. It feels like there's still like kind of a weird chunk there, but there we go. Oh well. First, I'm just going to kind of quickly brush on like the spot where the hair is going to be. Then I'm going to come down and pull my size down, and I'm going to pull the flow down to like 20%. And I'm just going to kind of do some stuff here on the edges to get some cool curls. Come in a few times. And I'm not pushing very hard because the softer I push, the smaller the brush. Okay, and if you want to do that also like in the front, you can do a little bit of that as well. And then to give it a little bit more texture and layering, I'm going to go all the way to white. I'm going to pull the flow down to really low, like 2%. And I'm just going to, with the small brush, oops, I lost my brush. Did I save it? Let's see. It'll have the previous one right there saved. So let's see if the brush settings are there. Yep, it looks like they are. Okay, this needs to be a little bit more flow. Let's turn the flow to like 5 or 10%. And with just a really soft touch, I'm just going to add some highlights on these curls. Spins. Maybe I'll turn the flow up a little bit smaller. Ah, I lost it again. A little bit smaller. Ooh, this drawing tablet is cool, but also sometimes it's not cool. So I got that flow up a little higher, and now I'm going to just do like really nice little highlights kind of around here. Okay, so we have this like kind of curly hair. Lastly, we're going to do straight hair again with the same brush. I'm going to do like maybe like a blonde. Let's see here. So I'm going to start off by, with that flow, let me get all the way up to 100. I'm just going to like quickly fill in the basic area, the shape, just to kind of like not have any white spots. I'm pushing really hard, nice big brush. Then we are going to, nice long hair. Then I'm going to do the flow down. And I'm going to pull under my color dynamics the brightness jitter up a little bit, so that every time I brush, it's going to give me slightly different brightness. And then maybe let's go a little darker with that color. And then I'm just going to, a little bit bigger brush. Get some texture in here so it actually looks like hair. And the harder you push, the more it's going to be bigger and more spread out. But I don't want to push too hard. So I'm starting with like a darker color. Maybe I should go more brown, but I'm not. And every time I flick, it's going to pick a slightly different color. That's because I have that color dynamics down. But again, not apply per tip, because then it'll look weird. So then I'm going to come in with some like more yellows. Let's throw those on top. The dark on the light on top of the dark looks good, I think. And again, because it's got like kind of a low flow, it like the colors kind of blend into each other. So maybe like right here, I'll go a little darker, like at the tips, because we have to get those shadows. Or maybe this person bleaches their hair, and I'm trying to expose them. And then come back up with some lighter colors. And then, you know, you might want to use the dodge and burn tool as well to like put some shadows on this. There we go. Maybe like some like areas where it kind of goes a little crazy. Push a little harder. However you want to do it. I'm sure a lot of you artists are going to be better at this than me. So yeah, and again, the dodge burn tool. So we can come in with the burn, and that's a weird brush. Soft round pressure size on the burn, and maybe just like, okay, I want you to be darker in those areas. And then I want to get the dodge tool out